We're on location again here. This is the Face Off podcast. I'm right across the street from Mascot Pizza. I'm not doing anything there at Mascot Pizza. This is a weird part of town. This is like the college-y part of town. This is Spokane, by the way. Everybody who's listening to this knows that. Because probably, I don't know, maybe most people who listen aren't from here. I don't know if at this point there's a such thing as a most people who listen to this. It would be maybe one person would be most people who listen. I think possibly I qualify as most people who listen to this podcast, which is solid. I'm down with that. I enjoy it. I don't know. That's some egotistical, narcissistic type shit right there, you know? It's this whole thing, like, I don't know, like, if it was funny in the moment, I thought it was funny, I thought it was interesting enough to say, it's probably going to be funny and interesting to me later on. It's a little bit weird to be listening to something and, like, kind of laughing at myself, saying jokes. I don't know, not even jokes, just observations and stuff. This is an on location in the car podcast. We're not driving around today. I'm trying to take, because Angela is in physical therapy right now, and it's an hour twice a week. She had hip surgery and she's getting repair, getting it. It's a long, it was a simple operation. It was like an hour, not even an hour. It took about 20 minutes. The whole operation did. And so 2 hours in the office altogether. But it's like 4 to 6. So it's like probably 6 to 8 months to a year recovery time. So like acute recovery time is like 2 months at least out there. So she's like, in pretty heavy duty pain because they did a whole bunch of crazy shit to her hip. And so this is the 6th week of physical therapy for her. Kicking ass, taking names, getting better. It's totally crazy because up until this point, she's been living with pain, just solid pain that it was like never going to get better. It was just, learn how to survive with this pain. Learn how to deal with this pain that's going to be constant forever. There's no end in sight. And now it's a different kind of pain. It's the kind of pain that gets a little bit less every day. And so she's actually working towards being less in pain. It's like little by little, incremental movements. Those are the worst kind of movements, but they're also the best because they're the ones that stick. If you try to lose weight, you should do it incrementally. It should be like just a tiny little bit. They say tops 4 pounds a month. Much more than that, then it starts to be a yo-yo slingshot sort of thing, and you could die. I don't know how. This pizza place looks kind of trashy. This place must be meant more for like at night. It looks like, it doesn't look trashy. Maybe it's got that dive aesthetic. It's got a bunch of trucks around it too. That's kind of crazy, like big old trucks. Why do college kids like dive bars? I think they like dive bars because they don't really like dive bars. They just like the idea of a dive bar. So somebody sort of puts together this idea of a dive bar or a dive place. If you actually went into a shitty little bar in a shitty little town, it's a little creepier than than these ones here. That's pretty fucking weird. Yeah, so incrementally, I always fall into the trap of wanting to make huge changes, giant changes. Go for the thing that promises the most abrupt, drastic change possible. And usually, the only abrupt, drastic changes that stick are negative. And it's hard to classify some stuff, but like if you get your leg chopped off, that's a pretty abrupt, drastic change. and it affects you for the rest of your life, and it sticks. It's stuck there, forever, or unstuck, however you want to look at it. You got to deal with that now for all time. But for like positive changes, it's usually going to have to be an incremental thing. An increment, and even something that looks good on the surface as a big drastic change could usually turn out to be not so good. Like if you win the lottery, it's like, oh hell yeah, I just won the lottery, my life is good from now on. And then you start doing crazy drugs and hanging out with strippers and just quit your job and go crazy, and then eventually die in a gutter with a whole bunch of cash stuffed in your pockets. And then the bank takes what was in the bank, and the hobos take what was in your pockets, and you're done. So that seems a little negative. Might be fun at the time. I don't mind having a little fun. I think that's a good idea. It's hard to know how to have fun anymore. I don't like going to concerts. I don't even like going to movies. I don't like watching movies. I barely like watching TV stuff. I don't like listening to music. I don't even really like comedy anymore. Since I started doing comedy, I haven't been doing comedy lately, but in the time, I did it for about 8 or 9 months solid, maybe 10 months solid, like really going at it. And I got about 10% better at comedy, at just doing the comedy thing, and about 187,000% more jaded about comedy. So it was a very tilted scale on there, because it was almost instantly that I was like, I get it. I see what's happening here. It's rough, man. But I can see I still watch comedy and everything, but it's got to be fucking really good. Like it's got to be hitting on some cylinders. If somebody might have like some serious energy, but maybe not as technical, and maybe not as like there's not as much meaning. I don't know. These seems like the table legs of really good comedy, is if there's some, if it's funny first, if you got the right energy second, if you got something to fucking say, something actual to say, that's the third thing. And then the fourth thing would be like the technicality to pull it off. That's like the legs of a comedy table right there, as far as I can tell. Other than that, I don't think you need much else. Now, that's sort of like saying, in order to make a pizza, you need the dough, the cheese, the sauce, and the oven. You know what I mean? And if you don't have those four things, then you're going to have a fucked up pizza. You take any one of those things away, it's going to be, you could do a cheeseless pizza without cheese, or a sauceless pizza, but that's just basically breadsticks. Or you could have a doughy, take the oven away, it's just dough and sauce and cheese. Or take the dough away, it's just hot sauce and melted cheese in an oven. You see what I'm saying? Like it's sort of like all of those gotta be representative. So if I see somebody, like I go to watch a comedy special and I pick up instantly that they're not technical, then I start kind of looking for other stuff. If I pick up instantly they're not very fucking funny. I watched a Colin Quinn did this thing, and his stuff is more like one-man shows these days. And this was an older one. I think it was from 2014. And it was about kind of just the history of the world and stuff. I can't remember what it was called. But it was really good. But it wasn't necessarily over-the-top hilarious. But there was at least one joke that was fucking all four of those things. It was absolutely perfect. And that's like that's one of those things where when you come across it, it's like, holy shit, that's so rare. It's so rare for all four of those things just in the way that he told that joke, it was like, man, that's some experience. That's some serious insight. That's just fucking phenomenal. It wasn't even a long joke. I'm not gonna say it, I'll butcher it. But if you ever run into me on the street, I'll look it up on the internet and show it to you, and you'll be like, that's not that funny, you're stupid. And I'll be like, that is correct, sir, because above all, it is subjective. So this is it makes me physically uncomfortable when I see shitty comedy. It's like, it's two different things. It makes me physically uncomfortable and kind of mad when I'm at home watching it on TV. But when it's live and I see shitty comedy, I fucking love it. I think it's hilarious. It's one of the that's that jaded part. It's so fucking funny to me to see somebody try and fail and keep trying. And sometimes it's funny because the funny's there, they just haven't quite got it figured out yet. Or maybe the crowd doesn't get it because they're dumb. Which happens. But it's good to feel uncomfortable. That's sort of one of the reasons why I stepped back from comedy, is I was feeling way, there's a bunch of reasons. But I'm going to go back in January. But I was way too comfortable. Way too comfortable with doing well, with doing terrible, with doing not anything. I was just super comfortable with it. And I could tell that was a real bad thing for being just so many months in, not even a year in. So I pull back. Hopefully I go back and can sort of feel that discomfort, that helps drive a person forward to do better instead of just staying stagnant. Because there was at a certain level, like I said, about 10% better than when I started, that I didn't want to stay at. But that's the whole thing about your comfort zone, is it's so big. So even if it's an uncomfortable situation that you're comfortable with, that's still part of the comfort zone. Like, I'm pretty comfortable with crisis, just flat out insane crisis. When something goes wrong, 9/11, these kind of things, Donald Trump, this new guy, the Kavanaugh guy, all this stuff. When these things happen, I like it. I feel comfortable with it. I feel like it's good. I like to see the cracks in things, and I like being there when it shatters. When I hear somebody arguing with somebody else in another room, I gravitate towards that. I want to be close to that. And I want to be there in case there's something I can do to make it go even crazier. If I could just say something or throw a little kerosene on the fire. I would like to say that I would be there to throw a little water on the fire, but that's not necessarily true. I'm not really one to break up arguments that much. I'm more likely to sort of push it into a real nasty resolution. One of those ones where it's not like, oh, we'll just stop arguing. That's what we'll do. We'll just agree to disagree. No, it's like, let's find out what the fucking core of this is, and let's end some friendships today. Is you gotta test your friendship out. Me and Angela were just talking about that it seems like what people think of as a friendship these days is somebody who will just never disagree with you. And I think that's totally not correct. And she thought the same thing too. I feel like a friend is somebody who will call you on your bullshit and not hate you for it. They'll say, hey, you're wrong. You got wrong. You're wrong-headed on this particular fact here, or this idea that you have, but they won't hold it against you. They won't hate you for it. They give you the chance to change. And even that's what we're talking about this. Like, I don't personally like people because of common interests. I'm not into that idea. When somebody's like, oh, hey, this guy likes this kind of music, you probably get along. I'm like, I fucking doubt it. I highly fucking doubt that just because we enjoy a certain thing, we're going to get along. So I don't like that. I don't necessarily like people based around their ideas. It's a personality thing. You can have the best ideas in the world, which in this case would be similar to my ideas. You could have the exact same kind of ideas that I have, and just I might not mesh with your personality, and in that case I'm gonna step back and be like, ugh, can't deal with you. Or you might have a great personality and terrible ideas, and I'll be like, shit, man, I don't know what it is, but we can hang, even though you have awful ideas about the world. That's a difficult thing for people to accept sometimes, I think, is that stuff like racism and sexism and all this shit, those are ideas, and people can have ideas, and ideas can change. And you cannot hate somebody who's racist. You cannot hate somebody who's sexist. You cannot hate somebody who murders people. You know what I mean? It's a really weird thing. It's like the Ted Bundy thing. Ted Bundy had a great personality. People fucking liked him a lot. And he murdered people a lot in terrible ways. I mean, there's really not a great way to murder somebody, but he was a pretty vicious person. So maybe that's a bad example, because you probably shouldn't necessarily like Ted Bundy. I don't think. I think there's people that do, though. You got serial killer fans out there and stuff. It's a little bit weird for me, but I'm down with it. This guy in the physical therapy place, he's like, there's some fucking creepy weirdo out there with a microphone talking in his car to a worldwide audience of millions of people. Yeah. So anyway, people have ideas. Ideas can change. So it's hard. I think it's really rough to write somebody off. I do it all the time, though. I write people off constantly. I'm like, you got to bring some value if I'm going to invest in this. It's crazy. I mean, I don't do it all the time. I don't fucking see any people. So who knows? Who knows how it works? Anyway, welcome back to the Face Off podcast. A little bit of Face Off stuff today. That's good. These podcasts have been getting a little bit, what do you call it? Stitched together. So I've been doing 20 minutes here, 40 minutes there, driving to Plasma, driving back from Plasma. This one I'll probably finish on the way to Plasma, to do Plasma today. I know that's annoying. Probably with the blinkers and the car noises and stuff and the inattention to detail and everything. But, you got to do what you got to do, man. That's just how it works. I want to put out a good, it's a long run thing. So, I'll sacrifice the quality right now, because here's the thing, is the more consistently that I put these out, the better the overall quality is, because it takes a little while to get used to talking constantly and having anything to say. And if I take I kind of took a week off there, and it's weird to come back to it. It takes a little getting into, So what I'm trying to do here is at least twice a week I got an hour. I always want to go eat shitty fast food while while Angela's in physical therapy, or I want to go to thrift stores and spend money, or go grocery shopping or whatever. But this is an hour. I can just sit here and get an hour in, so that's good. So I don't know why I didn't see that magical space in my week, because my weeks just seem like they're packed with peanuts, man. Like I'm just busy all the time. It's hard to fit in in a podcast, to sit and just talk and watch the clouds for a little while. I'm not complaining. I am kind of complaining. But I just want to keep doing this and see it get better instead of getting worse. And I know that the number one, so I know that one of the legs of the podcast table, and I'm just still working this out, not an expert by any means, but one of the legs is consistency. One of them is, I think, a point of view. The other one is possibly like subject matter. And I think maybe a fourth one would be technology. Having some access to technology is pretty fucking important to do a podcast. It's not like you're just going to go sit on the corner and do a podcast. And also, if you don't have any point of view, then what is the point of doing it? And also, if you don't have anything to talk about, any subject matter, then what? It's just going to be silence, or you're just reading like technical diagrams or something like that. And then the other one was consistency. Consistency is important. So if it comes out once a week, that's cool. I'm kind of working on twice a week with the non-canonical bonus episodes, but those are going to be definitely more sporadic, I think. But I'd like to do it twice a week. So that's the ideal would be to have them come out, I think, on Wednesday and Friday. But it might not happen that way. Shit might not go down in that particular fashion. But keep an eye out. And if anybody wants to contact me for any reason, it's on Messenger. Just do a Messenger or text me if you have my phone number. But yeah, just on Messenger. I'm not really doing much social media right now. I got one day a week on Tuesday that I check everything. So Messenger's the best because that just pops up. Messenger doesn't give a fuck. Messenger lets you know what's going on. But I started. Okay, so here's full disclosure. I have not watched Face Off. See, that seems like a fifth leg of the Face Off podcast table is watching Face Off, is really sticking to the routine, but I don't think it is. I have a serious problem sticking to routine. This podcast has been a lot about me. I'm just telling you about all my issues right now. It started out with narcissism, and now we're to my unstick-to-itiveness. Like as soon as it starts to become a routine, I want to break it. I'm like, let's not do that. Let's do it different. So 14, 15 viewings in, I'm like, fuck this. I don't got time to watch this fucking movie. I don't care if it's called the Face Off Podcast. It doesn't mean shit to me. Because I'm a G. I'm a fucking gangster. That doesn't sound convincing in this context at all. Not even a little bit. But I am okay. So I haven't watched the Face Off movie. I haven't watched Face Off, but I have gotten into something even better. I think I found online 2 different versions. So I found the production screenplay. So the screen, that's the screenplay they went off of to make Face Off, which I can tell you already. The screenplay is way better than the movie. I read the first paragraph. I was like, oh, this is way better. It's like a bunch of the stuff when I was watching the movie where I was like, why did they do it that way? In the screenplay, it's different. It's the way I thought it should be. So that's why I like the screenplay better. But I haven't finished that screenplay. I haven't even really got deep into it. The other one that I found is the first draft screenplay. The original one, the one that got picked up and then fucked around with. Now that one is a potato, if I say so myself. I'm about 16 pages into that thing, and it's already 1,000 times better than the movie. It's crazy. Like, I don't know what. There's some sort of, like, I didn't even understand the crazy jailbreak break thing at the beginning. Castor Troy is a fucking maniac, and Pollux Troy's a badass. There's a 5-barreled gun. The bodyguards in this movie, they're crazy twins with crystalline eyes. This is fucking nuts, dude. It's fucking sweet. It blows the movie out of the water already. It's still bananas. It's still fucking like, it's still insane. Like, it's still ridiculous. There's terrible dialogue in it and all that stuff, but it could have been excusable if it had all the other shit that's in it. Like, it's got a faster pace. It's just fucking tight. It skips that whole bullshit at the beginning, oh, hey, let's put this kid getting killed right at the beginning. That'll get us into the mood for some action. Yay. No, it's just like, this guy's a badass, this guy's a badass, this guy's a badass, and now this guy's dead. But is he dead? No, I don't think so. Not quite dead. Oh, and in this one, the idea, I haven't quite gotten to the part, but it seems like the idea to switch faces is Archer's idea. He comes up with it, and he's like, put me in there. He's more of a badass in this movie, I'm saying, or in the screenplay, I think. I don't know. And he's in therapy too. Man, it's way better. It's way more nuttier structure, it's crazier. And I'm into that. So that's the thing that I'm doing right now. I'm reading through that. It should be throughout this week. I'll try to finish it up. Make some notes. So maybe we could find the meaning of life in the Face-Off original screenplay. Maybe that's where it is. We're digging deep. We're not just trusting this cave of wonders as it is. We're going to make it our own. We're going to dig in there and really find the good juice. We're going to find that good juice in this cave of wonders. There's probably some good juice in this cave of wonders. So let's figure it out. I don't know, though. It could suck. It probably does. That's my default, is I pretty much assume everything's going to suck. No matter what. Like, even if it's something that I like and I'm looking forward to, I'm like, it's probably going to fall apart. Probably going to suck. Probably going to be a piece of shit. And I'm probably going to hate it. But it does turn out to be the case often. So there's the theory. There's the idea that you shape your own reality. So if you think something's going to suck and you think it and think it and think it for such a long time, then it is. It's just going to suck. It's just the way that it happens, If you think something's going to be good, you think it, then your outlook's different, and then it looks good. I don't necessarily prescribe to that particular train of thought there. But it could be right. I don't know. It's a little rough to work with that because then it changes the I don't know, it's like shifts the blame. Where all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, no, this life is my fault. Which it is. See, that's a little rough. That's the spots in myself that I don't like. I don't like that I'm undisciplined. I don't like that I can't stick to a schedule, even though I hate a schedule. I don't like that part of myself. That seems to be a big thing nowadays, is people talking about taking accountability for their existence, for their life. And I like the idea. I think it's a good idea. And I think that a lot of people sort of see it the same way. Is they think it's a really good idea and it feels really good to talk about taking accountability for their life and for their actions. but I don't think that necessarily translates in a lot of people to actually doing it. I think it's sort of like saying I want to learn to play the guitar, but instead of learning to play the guitar, you just learn all the jargon and get really technically proficient at talking about playing the guitar as opposed to actually playing it. Because the actual playing of it is a whole different nuanced thing. And so taking accountability for your life and actions is actually a really super nuanced idea. It's, it's like if you say, I want to be honest. I want to be honest with somebody. That's more nuanced than it seems, because honesty can just be, I'm not going to directly lie to them. But then at some point, you have to take into consideration the things that you're lying to yourself about. And the things that, are subconscious, you don't even know are there. All those things affect it, and all those things can affect your honesty. Same with like sobriety. Sobriety is way more nuanced than it seems like. It seems like just don't drink, don't do drugs, whatever your thing is that you're not doing. But anybody who is becoming so, is saying I'm going to become sober, those things are probably ingrained in their life. And so it has tendrils that go out and affect everything. So I still know a guy, that's my buddy Chris. When he would quit smoking, he would quit drinking and going out and talking to people. He would just quit life, basically, because he couldn't, be around people and stuff. I was like, that's going to be difficult, man. You can't just quit life. But that everything, the addiction is, tied into everything. When I quit smoking crystal meth, and I had to leave town because my whole life was wrapped up in it. So I had to leave town. I went and squatted in a house in Spokane with that dude, with Chris, and just went cold turkey and shit. And so I didn't have any of those friends that I had when I was, in that town, when I was smoking shit. And it was weird. It's crazy. I mean, it was huge. It wasn't like, oh yeah, I'll just quit and go about my daily life. Hell to the fuck no, you won't. Because there's so much stuff wrapped up in it, It's the same with drinking, same with smoking cigarettes, the same with changing your diet. I want to change my diet and try to lose some weight and stuff, but it's like, oh man, all my moods are wrapped up in food, all my routines are wrapped up in food, my enjoyment of life is all wrapped up in food. How am I going to change all that stuff? It's way more than just changing the food. It's changing the whole outlook, a whole relationship with food, a whole nuanced relationship. And so I think like taking accountability for yourself and for your actions, and just manning up when you don't watch Face Off when you're supposed to be watching Face Off, and really taking the taking the lumps for that. It's a little bit more nuanced than just taking the lumps for not watching Face Off when you're supposed to be doing it. I can't just come up with an excuse. That's my go-to, it's like when you fall down and you're like, I meant to do that. You try to make it look like you meant to. That's what I do whenever I break routine, whenever I fuck something up. I'm like, let me work this out. I can figure out how this will look good, like how I meant to do it, how it has a lasting positive impact in some way, And you can do that. I got 2 minutes of battery left. I'm just going to keep talking until it shuts down. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to shut it down right now. My camera's dying. So this is the first installment of the Face Off podcast, episode, I want to say 17. Lucky 17. That's for the juggalos out there. It's lucky number 17, by the way. Just on a quick note, and we'll come back to this hopefully later, because I got 1 minute left. We saw a news article where Shaggy 2 Dope tried to drop kick Fred Durst at a Limp Bizkit concert right on stage, and he totally missed, and it's all on video. It's hilarious. One of the best things that's ever happened in this world thus far. All right, I'll be back in a bit. Bye. It's 4 a.m, exactly 4 a.m, and this is the second part of the presumed 17th episode of the Face Off podcast, light on Face Off, and maybe that's a good thing. Maybe people need a break from Face Off. I certainly do. I certainly could. Actually, that's not necessarily true. I'm digging deeper in. I've gotten 2 different scripts, the production script and the original script or screenplay. And I'm digging into the original first draft screenplay, the original madness that the writers had wanted for this movie to be. And it's excellent. What an it's not it's pretty corny too, but it's actiony. It's got some set pieces, it's more direct. It's more intense. I think I can't help but see it with all the actors that made the movie and stuff, but it's pretty good. I got this camera set at a weird angle. If you're watching the video, you can see that it's set at a strain. It's set at a different angle. It's a bit of a strain. It's like way up high. I don't know why. I guess I was trying that out because I have it low. I always have it low, and I'm looking directly into it, and it feels sort of like I'm talking to myself. And so now I put it up really high, and that's how it seems like most podcasts film themselves, is from an upward angle down. I wasn't sure why exactly, so I thought I'd give it a try. And to be honest, I don't like it. I don't like it at all. I like being able to have that instant feedback without looking up. I don't know. Maybe it just feels like it's looming over the top of me. I think I'm going to switch it probably right now because it's annoying me. I don't want to sit here being annoyed all day. So I'm going to switch this. And this is riveting for the audio listeners there. That's a little bit better. I think so. I like it a little bit better. It's a little more intimate. Went with not so much lighting this time because I was getting lazy. It's 4 o'clock in the morning. What do people do at 4 o'clock in the morning? I used to read those Jack Reacher books all the time. I probably read 7 Jack Reacher books. That guy, Lee Child, I don't know how many books he's written. Those are rock solid books. He's a good writer. It doesn't mean they're good books, but they are rock solid. So if you want to read a rock solid thriller, I get a little sensitive about that stuff when it comes to writing and everything. Like, I can recognize when something's solid, when somebody wrote a good book that's technically solid and is really good. It's like the table thing I was talking about earlier with comedy and with podcasting. Like, you want to build a table that has 4 solid legs, and sometimes if it's just one good leg, you put it right in the middle and it'll hold the whole table up, but it doesn't mean it's a good table. I get lost in these stupid metaphors sometimes. So what I'm trying to say is those Reacher books, those Lee Child books, they are rock solid. So there's no faulting the technicality of them. There's no faulting just the storytelling aspect of them. They tell a story well, technically well. It doesn't mean that it's a great book or a great character or great anything. It's not like It's not like it's gonna go, but it'll sell for sure. I don't know what I'm doing right now. I've read those books. I sort of, I don't read them anymore because I moved into a different phase in the type of literature that I enjoy. And some dude, vigilanteism isn't high on my list of things that I'm into right now. There's this idea. I had a weird feeling with revenge movies and stuff like that, because you're supposed to get to the point where when you're watching a revenge movie, that you cheer for the person who's been wronged and who is getting their revenge. You want them to get their revenge, because whatever happened to them was so heinous that they deserve to have any kind of retribution that they want. But then, oh man, but then you're just basically cheering for more violence and more suffering and more pain. It's not like anybody gets their retribution by finding the person who wronged them and helping them to confront the evils in their life that cause them to be the type of person that does the thing that they did in the first place. You know what I mean? So, me and Angela were talking about this earlier, where there was this whole punch a Nazi thing going on. Like, is it okay to punch a Nazi when that dude got punched in the face? I can't remember his name. Richard something. I think he got punched in the face, and it became a meme instantly. And it was like, is it okay to punch a Nazi in the face? And of course it's okay. Of course it's okay to punch a Nazi in the face. It's your duty almost to punch a Nazi in the face. My opinion is that it's fine to punch a Nazi in the face, depending on what your goal is, what your goal for the outcome is. And if you want to punch a Nazi in the face, that's fine if your goal and your expected outcome is that things just continue on the way that they have for hundreds of thousands of years. That's what so in a sense, like metaphorically, or maybe even actually literally, getting punched in the face is what caused this person to become a Nazi in the first place. This person wasn't born a Nazi. You can't take anybody and picture them in the crib as a newborn child and be like, oh yeah, that's a Nazi. That's a Nazi. That's a sexist asshole. That's a murderer. That's a real piece of shit. That baby is a real piece of shit. It's not true, because the baby's just potential. And you look at the baby's surroundings and say, ooh, this kid's going to have a rough go of it, and from that vantage point, you feel sorry for him. If you see this little tiny baby surrounded by Nazi assholes and fucking shitty influence all around, you feel sorry for that little kid. But it's almost impossible to feel sorry for that person's grown-up self who's professing hate and really just being a fucking shithead. It's easier to say, oh, I'm gonna punch that guy in the face because that'll probably help. No, it was that baby got punched in the face hundreds and hundreds of times, either literally or metaphorically speaking, with like ideology and stuff. And that's why that person is who that person is now. It's not that they're just an innate asshole that was born that way. It's that they're fucked up. And I'm not saying that this is going to come out wrong. I'm not taking in this particular example, I'm not taking any stance whatsoever. So everything is equal. So what this Nazi person thinks is equal to what I think. and what I think is equal to what some super liberal person thinks, and what they think is equal to what some ultra conservative person thinks, and what they think is equal to what Jeffrey Dahmer thinks, And so, so what's is punching any of those people in the face gonna change what they think? If a conservative person punches a liberal guy in the face, is that liberal guy suddenly going to be like, "Oh, I'm understanding your conservatism now, and I think I should change"? Nah. If you punch a Nazi guy in the face, is he going to be like, "Oh, I get it now. You're speaking my language now. I'm gonna change my ways and become a good person"? That's not how it happens. You punch somebody in the face for their beliefs, and it strengthens their beliefs. So, in a sense, literally or figuratively, you got to learn to hug a Nazi. Yeah, that sucks, huh? And I'm gonna put a caveat on this. You don't have to. This is if you want a different result than. And I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to us, the you, the royal you, everybody. It's not like if we just want to keep going along the same way to the ultimate destruction of everything, which is definitely coming up, then yeah, punch Nazis all day long, because everything will just be the same. And if we want to change something, we want to get uncomfortable and get in there and actually cause some sort of different change, then you got to hug a Nazi. You got to get in close and understand them, because that's the point. Is it's for a person to change, it's an act of volition, and if a person wants to change or help change another person, that's a double act of volition. It's an act of volition on both sides, and punching somebody in the face isn't. And this is a one-sided affair. Oh man, I don't know. It drives me kind of crazy, because since we've started doing this podcast, anytime that I have a good conversation with somebody, which I have good conversations with Angela almost daily, I'm like, why are we doing this without recording it? This is a waste of a conversation. And that's crazy. It's a terrible place to be at there, to think like, oh man, we shouldn't be having a conversation without recording it. But that's what I think sometimes. But it's not a waste. It's really good. Man, there's very few things in this world that are better than a really good conversation when you're talking to somebody, you're exchanging ideas, and you're feeling, yourself sort of open up to new ways of thought, or somebody's asking you what you think about something, and you're really on fire. You guys are really popping, even if you don't agree. If you're understanding each other and moving forward, that's really great. That's a cool thing. I think that's why a lot the podcasting thing has gotten so popular, is because most of them aren't just about one dude rambling in his living room about tangentially about face off and related stuff. So it's usually two or more people, and they're actually talking and having a conversation. It's the worst when a podcast is two or more people having a conversation and it's a bad conversation. It's just like, ugh, God. So I feel like people like Joe Rogan, who's got this, or even Mark Maron to a lesser degree, because Mark Maron seems to be able to sort of distance himself from his interviewees or whatever. But when Rogan's having a real, it's almost like after listening to this dude for so many hundreds and hundreds of hours, you pick up on his tells for when it's like a shit conversation that he's really not interested in. It's just like all this stuff where these little tiny things, and it's just, you're like, oh yeah, he can tell this sucks also. It's kind of a waste of time, but it's only been 38 minutes, so he's not going to shut it down. It's crazy. It's a good thing to know is when something isn't going well, like at what point do you back out and just start over fresh? Give it a new beginning. Start over from the top. From the tippy top. That's probably what this podcast will just slowly go away from having anything to do with Face Off at all, and it'll just be called the Face Off Podcast. It'll be like one of those relic things. I actually built it into this because this is supposed to be 52 episodes, and I've added these weird bonus episodes, the non-canonical bonus episodes, but on the numbering, it's three. There's three numbers, so it's a 001, 002. So if I do just want to keep going past 52 episodes, it's built in for up to 999 episodes. At which point, it's gonna all be fucked. I mean, that's if you think that's a lot of episodes, 990. That's like 10 years worth of episodes, right there. That would be a weird thing to think of. What do you think? Okay, so right now, radio and newsprint and stuff are kind of going the way of the dodo, so to speak, becoming extinct, irrelevant, more and more irrelevant, and podcast and internet journalism and stuff are up. TV, network TV is kind of slipping too, it seems like. And so in the next 10 years, when podcasting starts to slip, 10 years from now, when podcasting has probably slipped significantly, then what's the new thing? I think it's going to be short form stuff. I think this long form is going away. It seems like Netflix keeps shortening things, bringing it down, chopping it up, cutting it into little bits. So like with stand-up especially, you would have an hour-long special. That was how it worked. Comedy Central would do those half an hour long things, and then there would be like showcase shows where comics would get like 5 and 10 minutes, like Def Comedy Jam and stuff. But now it's mostly showcase stuff. They do the hours and everything, but it's like they're pushing for those 30-minute and 15-minute things. I would assume that eventually it would get down to just bits, just like YouTube clips. They would just have that up where so people would watch the whole thing, so you would get an entire viewing as opposed to putting on an hour stand-up special and stopping at 15 minutes in, which is exactly what I do. I can't sit for more than 15 or 20 minutes and watch something. So it's weird. I think that I read somewhere that, how, I don't know if you know this, but I get super annoyed when I go to watch a video on Facebook and it's not in widescreen. It's like tall screen. So somebody held their phone upward to film it, instead of turning it sideways to get the widescreen, they held it up and down. I had read somewhere or heard somewhere that that's probably going to be the standard soon, like within the next 4 or 5 years, that instead of the widescreen, the 1080p, or I don't know what it is, the 16 by 9 or whatever, excuse me, instead of having that, it's going to be the tall thing. That's going to be the thing that'll focus. And then within like 10 years or so, the TVs will be like that and everything. And or we'll just switch, which is crazy. I mean, it's crazy until You think about the old TVs, even those huge TVs. I had a neighbor that had a big, huge flat screen projection TV. All those old TVs were square. And it was like, well, yeah, of course they're square. That's how you watch TV, dummy. And then you go to the theater for the big widescreen thing. That's what you do. And then widescreen, everything became the thing, you know? And so, I don't know. It's weird when you're stuck in a version of something that is definitely changing, but it's not changing very fast. That's the whole dynamic that we have to deal with as people, is that we're super aware of time. They say that dogs aren't as aware of time as people. So when you leave, if you're gone for 5 minutes, they don't know that. It just seems like an amount of time, you know? I don't know if that's true, because I know when I leave for 5 minutes, it's one thing, but if I leave for 2 or 3 hours, it's a whole nother thing. They're totally flipped out, you know? Maybe that's just because they get like a good nap in, and so they got a bunch of energy after a couple hours, but it's hard to say. So yeah, so the dynamic that we got to deal with as people is being super aware of time to the nth degree. Like it's murder for me right now. I can't stand thinking about time. I want to compartmentalize everything down to the tiniest degree. And so, again, excuse me, I'm yawning and coughing. So yeah, as a person, I'm acutely aware of time and its passing, but also on a different level aware of this bigger cycle of time that, like, I don't know how to put it. It's weird. It's like if you're if a tidal wave is coming in off of the ocean, and you're running in front of it, it could appear like you're running faster than this tidal wave because it's moving with a hugeness, but it is actually going faster. It's just covering bigger distances, you know, and as a little person running, that could appear to be moving faster because there's more like kinetic, frenetic energy happening there, you know, this flailing of limbs and stuff like that. But in the end, it's not. God, that's a terrible example. So I guess instead of seeing time as a line, I try to see it as this big circle or a whole bunch of circles, and we're on one frequency of time, which is moving at a certain, you know, aspect, is basically moving with the sun, but there's bigger things out there than the sun that are moving also, and we're all caught up in that too. But man, so just as an example here, we're living a person's life day by day. That person's life is, you know, maybe tops 100 years. And there's a dog, we got a dog that's living a dog's life, and maybe that dog's life is tops 15 years. So the dog is aging faster than the person. And the earth is aging slower than both of those things. Your house is aging at a certain speed, you know, like a house has a 200-year lifespan or something, so it's aging at a certain speed. I guess that's what you'd measure it with, is from the beginning to the end, what's the average time that's allotted there. And so you'd mark that on the timeline of that particular thing. So my dog can live for 15 years. If she's 7 years old, that's, almost 50% of the way there. If I can live for 100 years old and I'm 38, 40 years old, then that's not halfway there. It's I guess those are both pretty close. Very close to the same measurement. Oh man, I don't know what I'm even talking about now. I got all stuck in it. Anyway, I'm gonna get out of here. I think I'm gonna call this good and take the morning off. This is a day off from work, which I like. I had a good day yesterday because I stayed up. I didn't nap. I had trouble with napping. Isn't that weird? I feel like I've given up pretty much everything. Not everything, but pretty much. I mean, it's like that's one of those things that's nuanced too, where you can give up smoking crystal meth and drinking and doing other drugs and stuff, but then it's like, oh, I should give up soda too. Oh no, maybe all sugar should be given up. And then why not give up your slothful ways? And all it just keeps going on and on and on. Oh yeah, quit taking naps. That's a good idea, because it fits your personality to not nap, you dummy. So anyway, I don't know. This has been an interesting episode. These are pretty experimental here. I figure if you don't know that by now, then it doesn't help for me to keep punching you in the face with it. I guess maybe that's a point that I didn't get to with that Nazi metaphor, was punching in the face is the metaphor. So just yelling at somebody your ideas to try to make them change is basically punching them in the face with your ideas, and it's not going to change somebody. I haven't ever read anything that really changed my mind about something. Sometimes I become informed of something, but it doesn't necessarily change the way I think in general about stuff. So I don't know, maybe we shouldn't have changing people as a goal. It seems like that's what all industry is to change you as a person into a better consumer of the product that's available. Oh, I started watching this show my buddy Derek told me about. Little Derek, he's been talking about wanting to start a podcast too, some sort of I don't know what, but with me. He wants to start. I got a buddy that wants to start a podcast with me, the two Dereks, the double D's. But he lives over on the other side of the state, so it'd have to be some sort of Skype thing. I don't know how that works, so I'd have to look into that. I should probably look into it right now. That could be a thing I do. I doubt I will, but I should. Anyway, he was telling me about this show called Adam Ruins Everything. I'm only like 3 episodes in, but I love it. It's this guy who's a total smarmy asshole, and it's like set up kind of like a sitcom, but also like a documentary kind of with a lot of information. But it's sort of funny, it's goofy, but it's just like the first episode is Adam ruins security. So it's all about the idea of security theater. So the TSA at the airport, are they actually helping anything? Or is it just the illusion of security? I think that's what I honestly feel like that's what we invest in a lot, is the illusion of something. Most of the stuff we consume is the illusion of something. All movies are illusions of things. The food is kind of the illusion of nutrition. It's funky. Anyway, I'm real tired. I'm gonna get out of here. Short episode today. Thanks for hanging out. Seriously, thanks for hanging out. It's really good to be there. If you want to contact me, do it through Messenger. I'm not really hanging out in social media right now, or you can come to my work in the middle of the night and throw bottles with messages into the parking garage, and that would actually be better. I'm gonna say that if you want to get a hold of me, just write a message on a piece of paper and leave it in the River Park Square parking garage, and I'll probably find it, pick it up and read it, and I'll bring it. I'll read it here on the podcast, and that'll be called Messages I Found on Crumpled Pieces of Paper in the River Park Square parking garage. That's a new segment of the Face Off podcast. That title's not necessarily pithy. Wouldn't that be cool if the what do you call it, the thing where you take all the first letters of it and it spells something, and an acronym, I think is what it's called. If what that sentence that I just said, it spelled something cool, just like accidentally, something that was cool and relevant, sort of like, well, it would start with an L, so it'd be like if it spelled letters, or love notes or something like that, that'd be really cool. It doesn't, but I like it when stuff happens like that, where it's like, whoops, we accidentally did something amazing. Just amazing. Anyway, suggestions, complaints, all that stuff, just write them on a piece of paper and leave them in the River Park Square parking garage, and we'll get it sorted out, Don't do it on Tuesdays or Wednesday nights, though. I guess don't do it on Monday and Tuesday nights, because I won't get them. But any other night, I'll be there and I'll get it. I find all sorts of weird stuff in the parking garage. Nothing good or interesting usually, but just weird stuff. Parking garage is a stupid place to spend most of your time. Anyway, I'm going to get out of here. Thanks for hanging out. I hope all your dreams come true. We'll see you next time. And just remember, art is garbage and we all deserve to burn.